In today's video, I'll take you through the process of drafting your own women's trouser block to your body measurements. You can then use this to adapt to all different styles of trouser pattern of your own design. To begin, you'll need to take your measurements in centimetres. So the first measurements we will take is your waist and your hips. Keep your measuring tape horizontal to the floor. For the hips, you want the widest point of your body, and this varies for every body type. It can fall anywhere in this area. When you have this location, mark it with a sticker, pin or chalk. Now measure from your waist to the hip line vertically. Measure your waist to the floor, or the point a full trouser should sit. As this is a block, I would suggest doing that standard trouser length and adjusting to styles later on. The final measurement is your body rise. The easiest way to take this measurement is to sit in a hard chair with good posture, nice and straight, and measure from the chair seat to your waistline. Today I will be drafting on a smaller scale to allow the camera to see the marks I'm making on the page. I recommend drafting in pencil and make sure it's really sharp as you want precise marks. Also, I'd watch this once, then I would watch it again, pausing at each step whilst you do your maths and the step. Give yourself plenty of time to work precisely. Begin our draft starting with a T shape near the top middle of your paper and ensure you have very precise right angles. Take your time to get this precise. It can help to use a gridding paper like drafting paper, but I usually use lining paper or wrapping paper. I have links below to some of the paper options I use. This point is 0. Measure down by your body rise measurement. Measure down from 0 again by your waist to hip measurement. For all these lines, extend out in both directions at a right angle, as we will be using them later. Now a quick note here on the hip line. This can really vary in position and even fall very close or below the body rise. If this is the case, you need to go back to the mirror and take another measurement. It's not uncommon in women to have a high and a low hip, so you may have heard these referred to as hip dips or violin hips. Simply, you will dip in slightly where your leg goes into your hip socket before flaring out again. So you want this high hip measurement, which is the widest point above the crotch line. If you are using a high and a low, draw both lines on your block and use the lower hip line later on to get the width you require in the top thigh. So going forward, take the high hip as your hip measurement if you fall into this category. And a final horizontal line with waist to floor measurement. Now divide the line from your crotch to floor, so 1 to 3, minus 5 centimetres, to get our knee position down from 1. Label all these lines so you can quickly refer to them. I'll zoom in so you can see more detail now we have our basic structure. We will begin with the front, and most of the drafting is focused around the crotch line. Begin measuring left from point 1 along our crotch line by your hip measurement divided by 12 plus 1.5 centimetres. Extend upwards at a right angle so it crosses the hip line and the waistline. Measure from this crossing point at the hip line outward by your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 0.5 centimetres. The reason we add the extra little bits to these measurements is to give ease to our garment so it isn't skin tight. Continuing on the crotch line, measure further out from 5 by your hip measurement divided by 16 plus 0.5 centimetres. On the waistline, measure inwards by 1 centimetre from 7. At a 45-degree angle, give yourself a reference mark from 5, that is 3 centimetres, from the corner point. Then connect these points 10 to 9 using a straight line up to 6, then a French curve to completely smoothly passing through our reference mark. We now have our first external line. I've done it in black pen to differentiate, but I encourage you to always use pencil during drafting and go over in pen once you are complete and happy to make them more visible. Let's now begin the outer leg. At your waistline, measure out from point 10 by your waist divided by 4 plus 2.25 centimetres. At your knee, measure out from point 4 by 12 centimetres. At the ankle, measure out from the centre line by 10.5 centimetres. Sorry, I cut this off camera frame, but you will see it in a moment. Join up this outer row of points with a nice smooth curved line straightening off at the bottom. If you had the high and low hip measure, this is where you would add an extra reference point to pass through that is on the low hip line, equal to your low hip divided by 8 plus 0.25 centimetres, measured out from the central line. All you will end up doing is having a slightly wider, deeper curved hip area. From the inside leg, we repeat the process. Measure in from the knee line 12 centimetres, measure in from the ankle line 10.5 centimetres. Connect these points up from the crotch, dipping in slightly between the crotch and the knee. Notice how the trouser width is distributed evenly around the central line of the leg, which is what you will use as your grain line for your end pattern. This line will run centrally up your leg, and it will be a great way to fit your pattern later and see for any imbalance in your figure that you need to correct. Next, we will add some shaping to the waist by adding a dart. A good starting dart for most figures is a 2 cm width and 10 cm depth, measuring from point 0. Join these up to the rest of the front block. To complete the hem, join the ankle points in a straight line. So the black pen line is our trouser front block. You can proceed by tracing this whole thing or switch to another colour to do the back. In my case now, I will work in red pen for the back block. Again, let me zoom in as most of the detail is in the crotch line. The back crotch curve is a lot deeper because the butt is deeper than the front of women's trousers. Begin by splitting 1 to 5 into 4 and mark this point from 5. Extend this upwards so it crosses the hip and the waistline. Ensure it's at a right angle and straight. Mark the halfway point on this line between the crotch line and the waistline. Measure inwards along the waistline by 2 cm from point 18 and extend upwards by 2 cm. This is the starting point of our waistline. Measure from here by your waist measurement divided by 4 plus 4.25 cm. Pivot your ruler so your end point sits exactly on the waist reference line we made right at the beginning. Extend the crotch inwards by half the measurement of 5 to 9, then lower it by 0.5 centimeters. Join points 21 and 19 with a straight line, then 19 to 24 with a curved line, adding in a 45-degree reference point 4.25 centimeters from 16. It's the same process as the front, just deeper and longer. Your line will be smoother than mine as you can use a French curve. The outer leg can be constructed next. Measure from point 17 along the hip line by your hip measurement divided by 4 plus 1.5 centimeter. Widen the knee and the ankle by 1 centimeter each. The back of the trousers are always larger than the front. Join this up with a smooth curved line that straightens at the bottom. For the inside leg, do the same. Extend inwards by 1 centimeter on the knee and the ankle to keep the balance, then join up from the crotch curve. Add some shaping at the waistline with 2 darts. Split the waistline evenly into 3. Draw down at a right angle, measuring 12 centimeters and 10 centimeters respectively. Then make each dart 2 centimeters wide. Join all lines up. Finally, the hem is finished for the back. This time we curve the hem in the centre down by 1 centimetre. This gives a nicer shape. There we have a front and back women's trouser block. Label them, date them, add your name. I like to add the measurements I took at the beginning onto the corner of my paper so I can refer back. The next step you should do is trace the front and the back. Add a seam allowance and make a toile. Use this to address any fitting issues. I recommend drawing your reference lines on your pattern so that you can see how the fabric hangs on your body. You can tell if they remain vertical or twist. It's a great indication of where your fitting issues are for trousers. Transfer all these adjustments back to your block and repeat the process till you're happy. By addressing these issues right now with your block, you don't have to do that fit correction again and again and again with every pattern you create from it. A block is only ever as good as you fit it. You should be fitting your block periodically too. Depending on how your weight and body fluctuates, perhaps once a year to every 6 months. That's why I encourage you to write your body measurements on the paper so you can compare easily if anything has significantly changed. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, please hit the like to help me reach more sewists like you out there. I will be creating more videos in the coming weeks showing you how to draft garments from your block. So if that sounds like something you'd like to learn, hit subscribe to stay informed. Otherwise, enjoy your block and happy sewing.